In this video, we are going to cover our last task before we start on tickets. And this task is very important. If you're following our lab, please make sure to follow step by step so then you have no issues with the tickets. So task 5 is about joining computers to the domain Active Directory. Now, if you're working in a work environment, whoever hires you for most of these jobs and they're using Active Directory, I mean, this is something that you're going to do 100%, I will say. Why? Because most of the time when you install or set up operating system, you will have to put it on Active Directory for people to manage it. Or if you go to a company and you see that Amy, Adam, Monica, people like that are working inside the company, they're already joined to the domain. So knowing this knowledge, how to join a computer to a domain and troubleshooting it is extremely important for your skills as an IT support professional. So in this lab, what we are going to do, we're going to get into our app server, and whichever server you have, A, B, C, D, or more, you're going to click on, right click and go to desktop, and same way we're going to maximize it and send all control delete to our lab. And then we will log in with your help desk account that we have created for you. Now at this point, I think you have a very clear idea of where this account is coming from. So let's go ahead and put the password that is in your lab document. So let's go ahead. And now, as we discussed before, that we are not gonna work on this demo server anymore. This server, we don't need it anymore. So basically, I'm gonna go ahead, right click on it and delete it. You can keep it if you want to, that's your choice, but I'm gonna delete it from my lab, and because I don't really need that, I don't want to confuse myself. So that demo Active Directory that you have created is gone right now. So what we are left with is Ellie, James, and Wendy. So if you remember from our previous task, we have already created James, we have already set up James and Wendy's machine. So in this case, I'm going to first work on James. I'm going to get into this machine and then verify if James is added to our company and he's inside our Active Directory, and then I'm gonna add his computer to the domain. So I'm gonna go ahead and start James' machine right now. If we go back to our diagram, remember James is already a part of our company. He's already added to the DCA jobskillshare.org Active Directory, and if you go back to your document and you open your initial document, you see that if we scroll down, here's James. He works in our dev environment, and VM is located on app server A Hyper-V. It tells you. So it's basically the same server that I just went to, and James' machine is right here. I turned it on. Before we set it up, we put Windows 10 on it. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to it, and let's see. Now, of course, what would you do, like in this case, if you want to verify if James is a part of our Active Directory? Let's go ahead and disconnect from this machine. Let's go back to our lab DCA. Let's go ahead and go to our DCA, which is our Active Directory server, and let's log into that. This is a skill of actually checking a user. Like, how do you find a user in Active Directory, which is a great way you can do it right now. So we're going to log into our help desk account here because we have an admin rights into this Active Directory account. So we just logged into the Active Directory that we have created for you, and you're not going to do anything in this Active Directory, like don't delete anything. Of course, you need to add users and follow our instructions, but don't mess around with this computer, because if it's gone, then of course you will have to redo your lab from scratch, and you have to do everything from scratch again. So your Active Directory account is right here. Let's go to Active Directory, users and computers, and here verify that you have the correct domain. So if your lab says DCA, then it should be DCA. If your lab says DCA and it's DCB, then you should contact us, because probably we did a mistake, then give you a wrong Active Directory. So now you see that we mentioned that inside dev we will find James right here, and it's already right there, and the password is the same password in the lab. So once you verify that James is already in Active Directory, then we know that, okay, when we create a whole computer, we know we can log in as James. But if James is not here for some reason, or maybe you can't find it, what's the other way? You can click on this little find object right here, and inside your Active Directory, you can go and do entire directory and type James. That's another method for you to find James. And once you find it, you can right click on it move it, reset password, properties, and things like that. So with this step, at least we verified to log into the Active Directory. We can open Active Directory and we can find James. Now we're going to go back to our app server by right-clicking on it and go to desktop, and let's go back to that server. And we have opened James' machine right now. But can James log into this machine by just clicking here? If you think about it right now, if you know the fundamental knowledge of IT, can you tell me that this machine is on domain or not? It's actually not domain right now. It just have a generic help desk account that you have created. And of course, what we will do right here, we need to make sure that this is now joined to a domain. So we're going to log into the username and the password that you have created, which is help desk. And then you will log into this machine with the generic password. And we assume you already put the password that we ask you to put, which is a very simple password that you used right here. And if you use something else while creating this machine, you got to redo this machine again by going back to your virtual machines here. Go to James, and basically what you want to do, right click here and apply settings. This will bring back to the James machine to the fresh installation setup, and then you can recreate it with the password if you can't really remember what you did in the first place. So the first thing we need to do with James is to make sure we name it James, right? So is it really James machine? So let's go back to system, and I feel like we have done this part in our previous task, so we can verify it right here before we join it to the domain. So the machine name is okay, and if you come over here and basically maximize this whole window, you can scroll down, and now we are just learning a skill of how to add a computer to a domain. We're going to click on Advanced System Settings. You can also get to this point from different ways, like you can search domain or work related, something like that, and it will pop up the same information. So if I click on Advanced System Settings, I'm going to get that option where I can basically use this settings to change it to the domain. So let's go ahead and open it. Here you can click on computer name, and then we can change it to the domain. Now let's see if it's going to work, because we need to learn some other things too. So what are you going to type over here to add a computer to a domain? To add a computer to a domain, you learn this from our fundamental courses. You need to type the domain name that you are working with a company. So it could be anything headquarter dot this whatever.com or dot local, whatever they're using. We don't know that, right? They're going to let you know. But in Active Directory, it's very clear. When you go to Active Directory, you open Active Directory, it's right in front of you. It's called whatever we have assigned to you. It could be DCA, B, C, D. So in this case, we have dca.jobskillshare.org, and I'm going to click OK. So we got an error right now. So now, in most of the time in the companies when you're working, you probably won't see this error, but of course this can happen. Now in a real world, when you go and you log into, plug in let's say a laptop or a desktop inside the Ethernet of a company's network, it automatically detects the DNS for you. And that setting is already done by networking team. You don't have to worry and do anything about that. But in this lab, we need to point this machine to the domain controller. How can we point a DNS to the domain controller? So what I mean by that is the first thing you need to check, what is the IP address of the domain. So let's go ahead and disconnect and go back to the DCA machine. And this is our domain controller right now. So from the fundamental knowledge, I know for sure that you know this stuff, how to find an IP address. You're going to go to CMD IP config. So what is the IP address of our domain in this environment? 192.168.3.163. If you have a different lab, I'm for sure that IP address will be different. So make sure you just don't copy my video now and just do that. But unless if you have the same lab, then maybe you can use it. And here you can verify that our domain name is this. So in your lab, you need to verify whatever your domain name is. Then you need to search the IP address of the domain, which is 3.163. And then we need to go back to our app server. In James Machines, we are going to go ahead and right click on the networking right here. And we will go back to the networking. So you can click on change adapter option. right click on the Ethernet, go to Properties. In the TCP IPv4 section, go to Properties, and we are basically forcing these machines to talk to that domain controller, or the DNS will be now talking to that. So basically it's 3.163. In the DNS, you just need to change that. And then you're going to click on OK, and then basically you will click close this information. And now if you go back to our Active Directory, let's go and see if it works now. So now you see we got a pop-up. Basically, that's exactly what we did. We told this computer to now basically talk to the Active Directory, and the DNS, the IP address of that, domain controller is what we have put in this machine. So now, what account have you have to use right here? It's the account that we have given you, right? The account that you've been using for all of these machines. Helpdesk admin A, or B, or C, and the password you already know. You put that username and password, and what happens now? You will see that this machine will be joined to the domain dca.javascriptshare.org, and you're going to click OK. And what will happen? You need to restart this machine, and now this machine is being managed. James in our Active Directory that we have created. So let's go back to Active Directory right now. So our dev staff member right here, James, can log into that machine with the username and password from here. And that machine, when we joined it, where did it came? It came right here. So you see James is right here. But if you want to see what other machines got added to your Active Directory, they're all right here. And we're missing Wendy. So next we are going to do Wendy and join her to this domain. All right, so now we are going to add Wendy to the domain, just like what we did for the James VM. We're going to do Wendy. Now let's go ahead and start the virtual machine. And we are getting some error. So that's great, because we're seeing some errors to troubleshoot, and that's exactly why you're doing this project. So there's not enough space. Number one, whenever there's an error, make sure you don't just close it right away. You need to make sure you read what the error is saying. The biggest problem with a lot of IT professionals are they close this error, they try to do the basics of what they have learned from the courses, but if the errors is right in front of them, they never check that, and they just kind of do what they have learned from the course. Doesn't make sense, right? So you really need to check this error. So what is the error telling us? There is not enough space on the disk. So the first thing is this, where's Wendy located? So I'm gonna edit, go to edit, and then check Wendy's hard drive, right? So I'm gonna first check that. It's in the E drive. So if I go back to my folder, I can also check that on the E. There you go. We have a very small amount of space. The virtual machine is not liking it. So what can we do right here? What we can do here is that we have these VMs, and inside the VMs we have images. Now in your lab, you don't need the images. This is just, we have created it for, let's say if somebody wants to add a Windows 10 quickly, or Windows 11A quickly, or server, then you can use it. But in your lab, you don't have that kind of space. So that's great. We added it because we know these issues will come, and then that's what you do. You are going to remove one machine from it that we don't need. So which one we don't need right now? It's Windows 10. Let's remove that image from here. So we don't need this image. We're going to delete it. We're going to click yes, permanently delete. And now I'm going to go back and check our space. There you go. Our space looks healthy. We solved the issue, and let's go ahead and start it again. And it started normally now. And that could be anything. Doesn't matter if it's a VM. It could be any other application having the same type of issue, and you just have to hunt down the space issue, which we did in the first beginning task, and you learned about it. And this is the reality of IT. You know, it's nothing is smooth. Nothing is like very just click and everything will go like that. I mean, in most cases it does, but when you're being hired by people, when they say you're a technical IT professional, that's why they're hiring you. So you can counter this type of issues and fix it very quickly. So Wendy machine just started. We're going to go ahead and connect to her machine. It's running right now. We'll maximize the whole window. So same process for Windows 11. We're going to go ahead and click and log into the same account, the help desk account. You already created this in the previous task, so let's log in. All right, once you log in, let it run for a minute or two so it's do its changes or whatever it's doing. And then what you want to do after that is right click, and before you actually change that, we already know that we need to change the DNS setting. So go to search, and there are multiple ways doing the right click from here, but if you could do the search, you will find a little like easier way of actually putting the information. So sometimes these clicks can be very little slow, so we see I kind of did it fast. So now I need to type network right here in the search item, and it's going to pull up network information and everything. So if I click on view network connection, like I said, you can get to that place many ways, right clicking on the little icon, going to network connections and things like that. So I'm going to basically search that and click on network connection here. So view network connections. So same process, we're going to right click on the Ethernet, go to IPv4 and change our IP, the DNS of the IP to the DNS of our DCA or whichever domain you have, right? So in our case it's 192.168.3.163. So let's IPv4, go to properties, select the DNS 192.168.3 and 163. Make sure you use whichever IP address of the domain you have in your lab. So we're going to go ahead and click OK and close it. Now I'm going to go back to right click on the window in Windows 11. You can click on the system. Like I said, there are many other ways you can do it and find that out. And you can click on system here and scroll down and let's go to system info. Once you become more advanced, you can always go to run and type the short version or commands to open specific windows directly from the run or the commands. That's something you can do later when you get better with your skills. So here I'm going to click on domain or workgroup join. That's what we want, domain or workgroup join. So for some reason my mouse is definitely acting up. So I'm trying to click on it, but it's stuck with the mouse thing. So what you can do in this case is probably refresh the whole connection. So let's go ahead and reload the whole connection like that. It will disconnect, connect again, go up, and this means that this issue is probably inside the VM right there. So you can what you can do here in this case is we can close the connection on the RDP, right click again, and connect to that connection one more time from using this system like that. Let's see if that fixes our issue. So let's go ahead and maximize it. So that still didn't fix my issue. So what I'm going to do in this case, of course, I don't have any other things to do in this. I have a few options. I can see on the bottom right here, it says refresh desktop. If that works, let's go ahead and try that. If that didn't work, then we may have to do another pieces because it seems like it's hung. So we can't really do anything. The last thing we can do is to go back to our app server and minimize the whole connection. And let's reset this machine again. So I'm gonna wait and come back to it. And that's what I was talking about. The mental thing in IT is one thing. Like even I'm doing this lab and I'm like, wow, yeah, I really need to reset the whole thing, come back to it again. Yes, that's how IT works. Honestly, there's no other way. I mean, things are not gonna work. And I can really get mad at this right now. It's like, oh my God, this sucks or things like that. But no, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because that's what we do. We are going to definitely come across issues. These are systems. These are real systems. They can have many millions of issues. And that's what you do. You need to, if you have the option to reset or restart, you got to just do that and then take it lightly and then go back to whatever you need to accomplish. On the other hand, what I can do, I can make it even more faster in this system. Like I can shut down the James machine. So I'm just going to do the turn off, but you should just go inside and shut it down correctly. But I'm going to just use this turn off right there. So then our machine even get more resources from your server. So let's go back and connect and let's open that and let's log in. So far, seems like it's responding pretty well. So we have already added the IP address in this machine. So all we got to do is now join it to a domain. Let's go ahead and right click, go to the settings, and then maximize the window. And now it seems like things are working. Yes, you see this mouse is good. So that's how we fix things, you know. If things are not working, restart, do whatever you can do to fix that and get back to it. So now you see the domain or work group is working. We're going to click on it. We got the same type of window in Windows 11. Click on change. Type the domain that you have. And there you go. We got a prompt. And the same admin account, help desk admin A. This is on Active Directory. Remember, this is not your local account. And now we have Wendy also joined to the domain. And when this machine is restarted, who can log into this machine? Anyone from your Active Directory. So when I say anyone in DCA, you go back here, connect. Let's log back into the domain controller. And we will also verify if Wendy machine is on the Active Directory. So if your window is open like this, what you do, right click, refresh, Wendy is right here. So that's good. So when I say everybody can log into Wendy, is everybody in dev, IT admin, sales, vendor, all of these people can log into Wendy's machine on their own Active Directory accounts. They're going to have their own profile. Unless somebody stopped them from doing that, by default, they will be able to log in. So now what we have learned is we have set up a machine before joining it to a domain. Then we added all of these machines to the domain, Windows 10 and Windows 11. So if somebody asks you, how do you add a computer to a domain? First, you should know that. Did you do that on Windows 10? Yes. Did you do that on Windows 11? Yes. Did you came across some issue? Yes. You worked on some special thing in your project? Yes. You did DNS changes. So that's great. You got some really cool stuff. So from after this, we are going to get into some really cool tickets. And tickets will have more applications, more issues, more skills, and that's what you're going to need to work on. You got Adam, Amy, Monica already added to your domain, so it's really easy for you to get connected to these machines. And also you'll be working with James and Wendy's machines as well inside your Hyper-V. You just joined this. So how many machines do you have, by the way, in this lab? 1, 2, 3, and then of course you have Wendy, James, 5. You got 6, and you got 7, 8 server. You got 8 machines, which is powerful lab right here that's going on for you to learn a lot of skills. So practice more, spend some time. If you're tired, take some break and come back to it.